To the Europe now, day 2 of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit there. Today he's in Denmark. The focus is on the Nordics. Denmark rolled out the red carpet for the Indian Prime Minister. The Danish Prime Minister extended a personal welcome to him. Take a look at this. What you see is the Danish Prime Minister's official residence. Mette Frederiksen gave Prime Minister Narendra Modi a personal tour. Their last meeting was in India when the Danish PM paid a visit, and that's when she was gifted a painting by the Indian Prime Minister. Today that same painting was on display. It is a Pattachitra painting from the Indian state of Odisha. So that covers the optics. Now the talks. They discussed Ukraine's war on Russia. And this exchange happened in front of the press. The Danish Prime Minister said New Delhi should use its leverage with Moscow. Listen to this.
Denmark and the entire European Union strongly condemn Russia's unlawful and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. My message is very clear. Putin has got to stop this war and to end the killings. I, of course, hope that India will influence Russia also in this discussion.
What was the Indian Prime Minister's response to this? He reiterated India's position and called for an immediate ceasefire.
हमने यूक्रेन में तत्काल युद्ध विराम और समस्या के समाधान के लिए बातचीत और कूटनीति का रास्ता अपनाने की अपील की।
Europe wants India to dump Russia, as Europe itself continues to bankroll the Russian war by buying Russian energy. We've been telling you about this. Since the start of the war, Russia has nearly doubled its revenues from selling energy to Europe. The EU has paid more than $46 billion for this supply. Europe pays Russia over $1 billion every day for energy. Perhaps they should use this leverage to contain the war, rather than asking India to cut Russian oil imports, which are minuscule. Well, as things stand, this remains a point of divergence. Elsewhere, progress was made. India and Denmark signed 9 agreements today. The Indian Prime Minister participated in a roundtable with business leaders. He also held a community event with the Indian diaspora. Around 15,000 Indians live in Denmark. Hundreds of them gathered to see the Prime Minister today. The Danish Prime Minister was with him for this event. And here's what Prime Minister Modi said this evening.
भारत की ताकत जब बढ़ती है तो साथियों मेरे शब्दों में विश्वास करिए, दुनिया की ताकत भी बढ़ती है। फार्मेसी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, इस भूमिका में भारत ने मुश्किल समय में पूरी दुनिया का साथ दिया है। दुनिया के अनेक देशों को दवाइयां भेजी हैं ताकि हम संकट के समय मानवता के इस काम में पीछे न रह जाएं, दुनिया को संकट के समय मदद करें, ये सपना लेकर के काम करते रहें।
Later in the day, he'll meet the Queen of Denmark, Margaret II, and there's more to this visit, India's engagement with other Nordic states, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and Norway. Together with Denmark, these countries form the Nordic 5. Small countries, but economic powerhouses. The collective GDP of the Nordic 5 is $1.8 trillion. That's bigger than Russia. Russia's GDP is $1.5 trillion. The Nordic 5, $1.8 trillion. So it makes sense for India to engage with them separately. There's a dedicated format for it. It's called the India-Nordic Summit. It was held for the first time in 2018. The second edition of the summit is happening tomorrow in Denmark. The Indian Prime Minister will attend this one. The leaders have a lot to discuss there: post-pandemic economic recovery, climate change, innovation and technology, renewable energy, and India-Nordic cooperation in the Arctic region, not to mention the Ukraine war. So there's a lot on the table. The Nordic 5 is witnessing major political changes as well. 2 countries, Finland and Sweden, are giving up their neutrality, meaning they won't be neutral between the US and Russia. They want to join the NATO. They want a security insurance against Moscow. The NATO applications could be submitted soon. The Prime Ministers of Finland and Sweden were in Berlin today. They met with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and Germany is ready to back their NATO bid.
Finland
and Sweden are friendly countries. The two prime ministers are also close friends of mine, if I may say so. We are in close contact, which is why it's important to me to say that we are closely watching the debates in both countries on possibly joining NATO. Those are decisions and discussions which must take place in the respective countries. But it is clear for us that if these two countries decide to join the NATO alliance, then they can count on our support.
Diskussionen, die dort vor Ort stattfinden müssen.
These same leaders, Prime Ministers of Finland and Sweden, will meet the Prime Minister of India tomorrow, and they're expected to push India to take an anti-Russia line. New Delhi has stood its ground so far, pursuing national interest, as every country is, and there's nothing to suggest that India will change its stand. Despite these divergences, I must tell you, India and Europe are strengthening their partnership. They're discussing a trade pact, and that too will be taken up tomorrow. After the summit in Denmark, the Indian Prime Minister will head to Paris. He'll meet French President Emmanuel Macron. Now, France is the current president of the European Union, also the de facto leader of Europe, and President Macron is bullish on deeper ties with India. So it all works out in New Delhi's favor. Like I said yesterday, a new chapter has begun in India's engagements with Europe. Together, President Macron and Prime Minister Modi define the future path of this relationship. Needless to say, we'll be tracking it. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.